Hi team, I'm Tom,
And I'm Jack.
and welcome to our team up with Max Bridger.
Max is a personal trainer, nutritionist, and health coach.
As mentioned in our podcast with Max, he has made you a 4-tiered whole family workout that everyone can do at the same time.
In this video, we will explain how it works, see how it looks, and demonstrate good form.
In our follow-along video, you'll be able to see Max completing all of the workouts to all of the set times, and we will leave links in the description below so you can see that video afterwards.
So, let's explain how it works. The workout is broken down into 4 different categories. Those categories are infant school, junior school, secondary school, and adults.
It's over to you to match your family members to one of the categories and follow along as a team.
There are 4 sets, including rest periods. Sets 1 to 4 equate to 1 round. Max challenges you to complete 4 of these rounds.
This way, your whole family workout will last 16 minutes in total.
It's also important to make sure you warm up before and cool down after you do the workout.
Next, let's see how it looks. Set 1. For the infants, it's burpees. The juniors are doing Bulgarian split squats, left leg. The secondary team are doing squat taps, and lastly, it's backpack weighted squats for the adults. Set 1 concludes with 20 seconds of rest. Set 2, for the infants, balance crawls. The juniors are doing incline mountain climbers. The secondary team are doing bench dips, and lastly, it's plank saws for the adults. Don't forget your 20 seconds of rest. Set 3, this time the infants will be doing abdominal cycling. The juniors will be doing Bulgarian split squats, right leg this time. The secondary children are doing stiff-legged crawl outs. And lastly, it's elevated hip thrusts for the adults. You've earned your 20 seconds of rest. Set 4, shoulder taps for everyone. This is designed to bring in an element of teamwork and camaraderie. Who knows, it could even get competitive, but make sure to keep your form. After that, you'll need 20 seconds of rest.
Now let's see Max demonstrate good form. First up, it's the full infant school workout.
Your first exercise are burpees. This is a nice, fun, dynamic movement to get you going. So adding the elements at the bottom of getting all the limbs off the floor, and then at the top with the big jump to keep it nice, fun, and entertaining for your child. Exercise number 2 is bear crawls. We're adding a bit of a challenge here by placing an object on the back where they have to balance it the whole time. As you can see, the idea is to try and keep the back flat and to stop any sideways movement as well. This is a really fun movement, but you may have to help them get the object on their back. Exercise number 3 is abdominal cycling. This really targets the core, is very dynamic and keeps the children entertained. You're keeping the shoulders off the ground the whole time and you're bringing your elbow across to meet the opposite knee. The final exercise in this circuit is shoulder taps. These are going to be taken across all the other circuits as well, so you're always finishing on the same exercise. This exercise targets the core and has a lot of coordination in it as well. It may not be as challenging as the other ones, but because it's 4th in the circuit, it will seem very hard by the end. So the idea is to keep the hips as still as you can again, to avoid side to side motion and up and down. You're on a straight line, shoulders to ankles, and you'll maintain that as you bring the hands off the ground alternatively.
Now for the full junior school workout.
Your first exercise in this circuit is Bulgarian split squats. This is a really good exercise to challenge the legs, the coordination and the core strength. So you're going to need a bench or a sofa, anything that's slightly raised off the ground. Then what you're going to do is take a stride forward, plonk the other foot on the step behind you and put the marker down so that when you come to do it on the other leg, you know where to step out to. Key points there are to try and keep the ankle, knee and hip in line. If you can keep the chest nice and proud and stare at something in front of you that isn't moving, that should really help with the balance as well. Your second exercise is mountain climbers. This is a really cardiovascular movement as well as bringing in the core and again that all important coordination. So you can see I'm trying to keep a straight line, shoulders to ankles. I'm trying to bring the knee not only up and under the chest but across towards the opposite elbow. I'm trying to do this at a fast pace but not so fast that the technique goes all over the place. Right, the third one is Bulgarian split squats again, but you've guessed it, it's on the other leg. You've got the marker there, so you just place the foot by the marker, lift the rear foot high and then plant it on the step behind you. Remember, you go hands across the chest, stare at a point that's not moving, See how low you can get without the knee folding across or the chest caving in. Remember, we're trying to stay upright and keep a good alignment between the ankle, knee and hip. The final exercise in this circuit is shoulder taps. These are going to be taken across all the other circuits as well, so you're always finishing on the same exercise. This exercise targets the core and has a lot of coordination in it as well. It may not be as challenging as the other ones, but because it's fourth in the circuit, it will seem very hard by the end. So the idea is to keep the hips as still as you can again, to avoid side to side motion and up and down. You're on a straight line, shoulders to ankles, and you'll maintain that as you bring the hands off the ground alternatively.
Next up is the secondary school workout.
Exercise number 1, squat taps. This mainly works the legs, so the quads, the hamstrings and the glutes. We're making it slightly more dynamic with a small jump, but the jump isn't too high impact, so it should be great for everyone. You're trying to go as low as you comfortably can, and I was using a reference of my elbows touching my thighs in the same place each time, so I know I was getting the same depth with every squat. This is exercise number 2 in this secondary age circuit. These are called bench dips, so you need something like a bench, or a stable chair, a sofa, anything that's a sensible height and a sensible object to use. This exercise works the triceps and the muscles in the back of the arm, so don't worry if you have a burning sensation in the back of the arm, that's totally normal with this movement. It's very challenging, so if you can't do it with your legs straight, just draw them in a little bit and you can support your body weight with your legs. This is perfectly fine to do as you tire, so for instance your child might want to start with the legs straight before drawing them in slowly as they get more tired during the set or during the entire circuit. It's time for exercise number 3 in this circuit. This one is called stiff leg crawl outs. What we're going to do is keep the legs straight, reach down, crawl out until your body is flat and parallel with the ground, and then push yourself back up. You're trying to keep your arms and your legs straight throughout this movement, so it takes quite a lot of mobility and flexibility. Don't worry if you or any of your children need to bend your legs to do this, that's absolutely fine. As you could see, I was taking steady, consistent steps out with my hands, as to allow my core to keep up with the movement and a change of tension. You can even make it more challenging by doing something like a push-up at the end, or something like a commando, where you go from the palms of your hands onto the forearms and then back up. The final exercise in this circuit is shoulder taps. These are going to be taken across all the other circuits as well, so you're always finishing on the same exercise. This exercise targets the core and has a lot of coordination in it as well. It may not be as challenging as the other ones, but because it's fourth in the circuit, it will seem very hard by the end. So the idea is to keep the hips as still as you can again, to avoid side to side motion and up and down. You're on a straight line, shoulders to ankles, and you'll maintain that as you bring the hands off the ground alternatively.
Finally, it's the adult workout.
The first exercise in this adult circuit are weighted squats. Because a lot of you won't have weights specifically, but a lot of you will have a backpack, I'm going to demo this with a backpack that is filled with heavy objects from around the house. If you struggle with leaning forward too much, if you pop the backpack on your front, that should help you remain more upright and allow you to get more depth and more out of the squat. Because most people won't have that problem, they can pop it on their back and just work to a depth they're comfortable with. Key points are to keep the feet just outside shoulder width, toes angled slightly outwards, and to come down to the same depth each time. My reference point was my elbows touching the same point on my thighs, which meant that I wasn't leaning any further forward or any more back, and I was going to the same depth because the elbows were touching the same point with each rep. The second exercise in the adult circuit are something called plank saws. This is just a regular plank where you add an element of moving backward and forward as a saw would on a piece of wood. This just changes the tension through the core, which makes the exercise more dynamic and more entertaining and better to do if you're doing it 4 times in a circuit. I was still trying to keep a straight line, ankles to shoulders. Don't worry if there is some change, because that will happen when you're going backwards and forwards. Just try to keep the speed consistent, and again you can add something like a cone on your child's back to add an element of balance and competition and to liven up the workout if needs be. Exercise number 3 are an exercise called hip thrusts. These target the glutes, and what you'll need is a bench, a sofa, a chair, or anything that's about a similar height off the floor to this bench here. They can also be done on the ground if you do not have a sensible object. As you can see, that movement is based on hip flexion and extension. That means bending the hips and fully extending them and squeezing the bum. The top tip would be, if you're using something as uncomfortable as the bench I just used, do pop something like a towel on so it doesn't jab you in the back like it did to me that whole time. The final exercise in this circuit is shoulder taps. These are going to be taken across all the other circuits as well, so so you're always finishing on the same exercise. This exercise targets the core and has a lot of coordination in it as well. It may not be as challenging as the other ones, but because it's fourth in the circuit, it will seem very hard by the end. So the idea is to keep the hips as still as you can again, to avoid side to side motion and up and down. You're on a straight line, shoulders to ankles, and you'll maintain that as you bring the hands off the ground alternatively.
Thanks again to Max for teaming up with us to create these workout videos.
And we can't wait to see you at the follow along video.